You're lucky.
Yes. Okay.
I'm gonna get going. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Scottsdale Big Book Study, where we will study the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Today's date is Saturday, I believe it's the 16th of December.
13.
13th. Thank you, Harlan. 2025. My name is Maria F., and I'm a recovered compulsive overeater. I'm from County Dublin in Ireland, and I'm going to be your host for today's study. Our co-hosts are Carol O, Danny P, and our Q&A is Johan N from Sweden. Please join us here in this room every Saturday morning at 7:30 Pacific time and 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. We also meet Sunday through Friday night at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time and 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So that's every evening from Sunday through to Friday, 5:30 Pacific time and 8:30 Eastern time. If you've any questions or any concerns during the meeting, please contact either myself or any of the co-hosts, and you can do this by private message in the chat function. We will disable the chat function for the duration of the Big Book study, and we will re-able it again at about 5 minutes before the Q&A. So if you've got a question for Harlan, please post it in the Q&A to Johan, and he will ask the question on your behalf if you don't want to ask the question yourself. Please note that our speaker today, Harlan G., will be recorded for the duration of the study. However, the question and answer sessions which follows, we don't record that. We ask if you could please keep your microphone on mute at all times during today's study, and also if you're eating, driving, moving around, exercising or eating, please do step away from your screen or turn your screen off because it can be distracting for other people. During the meeting, we'll post the link to the 7th edition and also to the previous week's recordings, and we have hundreds of recordings there of each Saturday over the past 6 years. This money that we collect in our 7th edition goes towards the cost of our Zoom account, the cost of uploading our recordings, and we also send contributions to our intergroup, the Arizona Serenity in the Desert. We also do send contributions to the WSO, which is our World Service Organization. So now we are going to go over to Scottsdale, Arizona, and I'm delighted to be here anyway this morning, Harlan. I'm delighted to have you here. So delighted to be here.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you very much. And I'm so glad to be here with you guys this morning. When we get started on the text, we're going to get started at the very bottom of page 58. And we're going to be starting with remember that we deal with alcohol. But before we get started on page 58 with remember that we deal with alcohol, I do want to talk to you guys about where we are and how we got here. We have been studying the first five chapters, of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. The doctor's opinion, Bill's story. We've been through how there is a solution, and we've been through we agnostics and more about alcoholism. So we've been through 5 chapters so far. And the purpose of these chapters, the purpose of what the book is trying to tell you is, here is what a compulsive overeater is. Here is what an alcoholic is. An alcoholic is not just someone that drinks a lot of liquor. A compulsive overeater is not just someone that eats a lot of food. There's more to it than that. And the book is asking us to be honest with ourselves about what we are, who we are. And the book is asking us 3 times in the first paragraph on page 58 to be honest. Honest about what? Well, the easy answer is everything. Be honest about everything. Does this dress make me look fat? Yes. Don't do that. Do these pair of pants make my butt look big? Yes. Don't do that. But what the book is asking you to do is to ask yourself a question. Based on the characteristics of a compulsive overeater, an allergy of the body, which makes it absolutely impossible for you to stop once certain ingredients, certain foods are ingested by your body. Can you stop? Remember what it said on page 44? Remember that on page 44, it asks us these questions. Now, in OA today, we have 15 questions that people look at and answer to determine, are they compulsive overeaters? The big book really only has two. On page 44, it says very simply, if when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit entirely, that's because of the mental twist. Or if when drinking you have little control over the amount you take, that's because of the physical allergy, you are probably alcoholic. So those two questions are paramount. And if you want to know, are you a compulsive overeater as opposed to a moderate eater or a heavy eater, if when you want to, you find you cannot quit entirely, or if when you eat certain foods, you go crazy because of the physical allergy, the craving that sets you up beyond human aid. So those are really the only two questions we need. And the book also describes in Bill's story and in More About Alcoholism that not only are these two characteristics paramount to our understanding, but it also is very true that the disease of compulsive overeating is permanent. There is no cure for addiction. There's no known cure for alcoholism, compulsive overeating, or any other addiction that is known to man. Addiction is a permanent condition. Now, we don't have to die from the disease. We can die with the disease. What is the difference? The difference is if I die from the disease, here's what my death is going to look like. And all I need to do is remember my mother or my very, 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 very dear friend who just passed away. My mother's leg was amputated. My mother was on dialysis for a long period of time. Dialysis was extremely destructive to her. The shunt kept getting infected. The dialysis was sapping her body. She couldn't go anywhere. She couldn't do anything. The dialysis is like a chain, and it's a chain like as if somebody handcuffed you to the wall. There's really, you have that day or two in between, but then you've got to be back in the hospital and you've got to take your treatment. So you're really chained. You can't really go anywhere or do anything. And it makes life it made life very miserable for my mom. She had heart failure. She had all kinds of serious complications as the result of her compulsive overeating. But the major complications were heart attack, stroke, amputation of the leg, planned amputation of the other leg, dialysis, kidney failure. These were her ailments at the time that she mercifully passed away. She died from the disease. Hopefully, if I'm abstinent today and I'm in recovery today, I can live in spite of having the disease. I don't have to die from the disease. I can die with the disease. In other words, I'm going to die from something else. I'm going to die from heart failure, or I'll die from a stroke. Chances, because I have AFib of the heart, I'm much more prone to stroke than most of you. If you have AFib, you're actually 4 times more likely to have a stroke than if you don't have it. That's why I take the medication, Xarelto, and things that I take, so those blood clots do not get up in my heart and take me out of the ball game. And hopefully my walking will help and my abstinence will help. I drink a lot of water and so on and so forth. So I do the best I can. My blood tests are good. I just recently took blood tests. My bad cholesterols are coming down. My good cholesterol is going up. So right now we're in a good space. And my doctor watches me like a hawk because my mother was diabetic. They watch me like a hawk and they test me for diabetes. Thank God I don't have it. But you never know. So next year in March, or April, he's going to send me back for more blood tests, and he wants to keep an eye on that. So anyway, so these two questions are key, but beyond the allergy of the body and beyond the twist of the mind, it is imperative that we remember that the disease is permanent. Now, Bill's story exemplified this, and more about alcoholism exemplified this. The disease is progressive. What does that mean? The disease is progressive means that the longer you have it, and it's a permanent thing, the worse it gets. And this is one of the traps that we fall in, and this is something that will bring us to relapse. Let me explain what I'm talking about. We are going to get to the text, I promise you, but this is important for us to remember. We're all clear that the older we get, the less food we get. I wish it was different. I wish I could tell you something, when you reach a certain age, you get to eat all the food you want. That's not the case. The older you get, the less food you get on your food plan. I know I'm pissed off about it too. Trust me, I'm getting a lot less food today than I was getting 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. That wicked witch that I go to, she keeps taking food away from me, but she doesn't give me any food back. And she laughs when I tell her, every time she takes food away from me, I tell her, I hope you get trapped in a burning building and they can't get you out. And she laughs because she knows I'm kidding, but I'm really not. I'm kidding. But the bottom line is that as we age, you get less food. But here's what a lot of sponsors and nobody tells us. The older I get, the more I have to work my program. So in other words, I have to step it up. I have to step it up because a lot of people will settle into a service situation just like a food plan. They sponsor the same 3 people, or they sponsor no one, or they sponsor whomever, whatever. As I age, it is imperative that I continue to do more and more and more. Now, I hear some of you, you're saying to yourself, but you don't understand, Harlan. I have kids. I have a job. I have a job too. I own a little business. It's not a small business. It's a microscopic business, but I still have to work at it. I'm not retired. I hope someday I'll get to retire, but I'm not there yet. So as we age, we also have to do more and more step work. That means more 4th steps, more 10th steps. I have to give a little bit of an expansion every so often to my 11th step. I have to do more 12-step work because the disease is getting worse and worse and worse. So my activity level, if it stays the same, will not fend off the horrible effect of the disease. I hope that's clear. So as we age, we eat less, we do more. And if we don't eat less and do more, we are going to start gaining weight in leaps and bounds, and we are going to start suffering from this disease. Very, very important to be honest with yourself about that. As I age, have I increased my activity in this program? Have I increased my sponsoring or my service? Very, very, very important. And have I cut my food? What I hear a lot is, I hear a lot of people calling and talking in meetings and calling me or calling others, and they say, gosh, I've kind of plateaued. I was X amount of pounds. Now I'm still overweight, but I don't seem to be able to lose weight now. And the reason that is both things. Their activity level may have slowed considerably, but they have, and this is the important one, they have to cut their food. They have to look at what they're eating. Maybe when you're at X amount of pounds, you can get away with eating this amount of food. But as you get older and your furnace, your digestive system becomes less efficient. You have to eat less food, and your body cannot comfortably carry around that kind of weight. So you get more sedentary. The more sedentary you get, the more weight you gain. The more weight you gain, the more sedentary you get. So you can see the killing force of this disease. You have to keep moving. You have to keep going. You have to keep doing the best you can to keep yourself as active as you can possibly be. So I hope we've made that distinction. Now, the disease is also, if untreated, it is 100% fatal. This disease is a murderer. And not only is it a merciless murderer, it is a terrorist of a murderer. It doesn't care what it takes away from you. It doesn't care what it does to your loved ones. It doesn't care that you are a sincere, wonderful person. It doesn't care how many people love you. It doesn't care how many people you love. It doesn't care. This disease is an unfeeling murderer of the lowest magnitude, and it will take you to places you wouldn't take your worst enemy. This disease is unfeeling, unthinking, and it has no remorse. It is just like a psychopath serial killer or a sociopathic killer. It does not care what it does to you. It doesn't care how many people cry. It doesn't care how many people you hurt. They say the average alcoholic takes 5 people with him to hell. I believe that the average compulsive overeater takes 5, maybe 7 people to hell with them when they don't get into recovery. You think you're just affecting yourself with your bulimia. You think you're just affecting yourself with your compulsive overeating or your anorexia. Let me assure you, you are not an island. There are people who love you. There are people who do not want you to die. And there are people who do not want you to suffer. They're counting on you. So let's go to the bottom of page 58. Remember. And how are you going to remember? The only way you're going to remember any of what we talk about is to teach it to other people. You will not remember this, as Clancy Imislund teaches us. You will not remember this because you're supposed to remember this. You will not remember this because it's important. You will remember this by teaching it to other people. Remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Let's stop right there. Sneaky, dangerous. It doesn't care who you are or what you are. It will kill, and it kills absolutely. But before it kills, it maims and tortures. Maims and tortures. Remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for us. But there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. Abstinence does not treat this disease. You hear me say this a lot because I want you to teach it to others. Abstinence alone does not treat this disease. If it did, diets would work. If it did, then treatment centers would turn out recovered people, and they don't. And I'm not giving you an opinion on treatment centers. If you go to a treatment center, which is fine, I'm not knocking that. You still have to work the steps when you get out of there. That's the point. Hospitals would turn out winners, and they don't. You have to do the work of the steps. You have to take the treatment center as kind of a starting point, or the hospitalizations that I've had several of in my disease. But you cannot walk out of there and say, I'm cured now, I'm fine, I don't have to do any more work. You will be ruining the day that you said that to yourself, because it's not true. So if abstinence treated this disease, then going on a diet and reaching a goal weight would cure me, and it never did. I did lose weight many times, sometimes by sheer willpower and sometimes by diet pills. When I was 9, 10, 14, 15, 16, 14, 15, I was on doctor prescribed amphetamines so I could lose weight. And I did. And I remember on the bottle it said to curb appetite. To curb means to reduce. And my mother and father were so happy that there was a pill that could curb my appetite. And my mother and father were just elated. And I would take those pills, and when they would wear off, oh my God, it was like going down a roller coaster. Those pills made me crazy. You sleep about 20 minutes a month, and they're just devastating, especially to a young person. But when they would wear off, I would eat Illinois and most of Wisconsin. But those diet pills helped me lose weight, yes, but they did not cure my disease. Top of page 59. Let's take a look at the next sentence. Oh, wait, before we go to the next sentence, I almost forgot to mention this. That one is God, may you find him now. Once again, what does it say to us on page 43 of the big book? On page 43 of the big book, at the bottom of the page, after it tells us this during the chapter more about alcoholism, on page 43 of the big book, this is something I read every day in my life. It says, once more, see, he's already told us this a bunch of times. Once more, the alcoholic at certain times has no effective mental defense against the first drink. Except in a few rare cases, neither he nor any other human being can provide such a defense. Now, the next sentence is the key. His defense must come from a higher power. There's nothing, let's go back to page 59. There is nothing in this world that is going to help me much except a spiritual awakening as the result of the steps. The cure is not, it doesn't exist, but relief or a remedy for alcoholism, a remedy for compulsive overeating must come from a higher power. I do not have to believe in a religious God. I do not have to believe in the God of the Catholics or the God of the Protestants or the God of the Jews or the God of any, or the Muslims or anything else. I do not have to believe in any religious deity. I don't have to. What it simply says is, do I believe, or am I willing to believe, that there is a power greater than myself? That is all that's required to make my beginning. I fought this for a long time. My ego wanted me to be different. My ego wanted me to be the chosen one, the special one that was going to recover because of a girl or money or whatever. If that it were so simple. But this is the easier, softer way. This is beautiful. What is the thesis line of the big book? Is the thesis line of the big book, we're going to get you abstinent and that's going to cure you? No. The thesis line of the big book is on page 45. And what does it say? It says the main object of this book is to help you find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem. It doesn't say the main object of this book is to help you find a power greater than yourself, which will get you abstinent. It doesn't say the main object of this book is to help you find a food plan which will help you lose weight. It doesn't say that the main object of this book is to help you find a particular kind of liquor that you can drink moderately if you're an alcoholic. It simply says on page 45 of the big book, the main object of this book is to help you find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem. Now, notice it says problem singular. It doesn't say problems plural. It says problem singular. I still have taxes to pay, and I still have my friends are still dead. This year, I lost 3 fantastic, beautiful people out of my life. I wish they were still here. They're not. They're not coming back either. But the main object of this book is to help you find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem. And what is my biggest problem? Me. I have an allergy of the body and I have a twist of the mind. And this will shut down the twist of the mind. So my mind already feels better and it doesn't see the need to drive me irresistibly into the food. Top of 59. But there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. Half measures availed us nothing. If love is a reed, then recovery is a vending machine. If love is a reed, then recovery is a vending machine. Bear with me. I know it sounds funny. I'm trying to make a joke. I'm not. Go to a vending machine, especially an old vending machine where you can't stick a credit card in there, and look at a product that costs $2. When I was a kid, a product in a vending machine was 10 cents for a bottle of pop, or it was 10 cents for a candy bar. Today, products in the vending machine could be $10, with $20, whatever. Go to a vending machine, and the product that you want costs $2. Put in $1.99. See what you get back. All you're going to hopefully get back is your $1.99. I doubt very seriously if you're going to get your product. I doubt very seriously if you're going to get anything out of there but your $1.99. In other words, this is a binary situation. Binary means it's either on or off. It's either yes or no. It's either recovery or the disease. She's either pregnant or she's not. This is a binary condition. Half measures availed us nothing. I don't know if you can see my lamp. It's off, it's on, it's off, it's on. There's no switch on here that says half on, half off, or 3/4 on, 3/4 off. And I know. I hear you say, I have a dimmer switch. I'm not talking, it's either on or it's off. I know you wise guys out there have dimmer switches on your lamps. I know that. But the bottom line is, bear with me on this one. It's either on or it's off. So we have to remember that in life, no matter if it's whether I treat the checkout lady at the grocery store as an ill-tempered customer, or I treat my friends poorly, whatever, I'm either walking toward God or I'm walking toward the food, and there's no middle ground. None. No middle ground. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection. His is capitalized because he's talking about God. Protection and care. Protection and care. See, God is so good. He doesn't just protect me. He cares about me. He directs me. He gives me what I need. His protection and care with complete abandon. Now let's talk about complete abandon, because it's important that we have a good understanding of it. I live in Scottsdale, Arizona, and wherever you live is going to be exactly the same. There are people, it's a Saturday morning, no matter where you are, unless you're listening on the tape. It's a Saturday morning. I'm not on a tape anymore. It's on the recording. Sorry. Used to be a tape. I got used to saying a tape. It's not a tape anymore. I don't think anybody uses tape anymore except to fix something for a child or something. But anyway, it's Saturday morning, and there's lots of people in my neighborhood that are not home. But if I go to their house, I can easily tell someone lives here. The lawn is manicured. There's no garbage around. The house is well treated, well taken care of. They're just not home, but they're coming back. Now, there are other houses, maybe not right where I live, no, but around here somewhere. I don't know where they are, but they are abandoned. The grass is up to your eyeballs. The garbage is all over. There's no furniture in the house. There's no car in front. It's dirty. Nobody has cared for this property. That is an abandoned house. Nobody is coming back to it. It's abandoned. We have to have complete abandon. In other words, we have to be at a point where we are ready to walk away from what does not work. To walk away and never intend to come back. I do not want to go back to my Saturday nights. Today's Saturday. Tonight I'd have my threesome. Me, Little Debbie, and Sarah Lee. Sometimes we would invite Ben and Jerry. Sometimes we would invite Colonel Sanders. Sometimes we would invite Ronald McDonald. Other times we would invite Pete Pizza. But the bottom line is, I have to be able to say, I am willing to walk away from the ease and comfort that first couple of bites of food give me. Because after the first couple of bites, after 9 seconds, I don't even want to be eating this garbage. I'm eating it against my will. I know I'm killing myself. Dr. Silkworth tells me we know that it is dangerous. We know that it's bad. We just keep eating because we can't tell the true from the false. I ate railroad cars full of food that I didn't want to eat. I never woke up the next morning and said, oh man, am I glad I ate all that candy. Oh my God, I am so happy that I ate all that pizza or all that garbage, whatever it is. Fill in the blank. I'm so happy that I ate that garbage. I woke up the next morning sick to my soul and sick to my stomach. Sick to my stomach that I had ingested garbage food, and sick to my soul that I did that to myself again and again and again and again. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. Now, we're not going to go through the 12 steps. You can do that on your own. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you where they come from. And I want to review with you the 6 steps of the Oxford Group movement that was adapted to our alcoholism by the drunk squad of the Oxford Group. They had number 1, complete deflation. Number 2, dependence and guidance from a higher power. Number 3, moral inventory. Number 4, confession. Number 5, restitution. Number 6, continued work with other alcoholics. I'm getting this information from page 263 of the 4th edition of the Big Book. That's page 263 of the 4th edition of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's where I'm getting this information. They also had 4 absolutes that they wanted you to shoot for. Absolute honesty, absolute purity, absolute unselfishness, and absolute love. And these alcoholics were having trouble being anything but absolutely drunk. They did not have the wherewithal to be absolutely anything. And that's one of the reasons that we have the split from the Oxford Group. New York split in 1937, in September of 37, and the Akron groups split from the Oxford Group in September, October of 1939. It took them 2 more years to split. They were more religious in nature in Akron, and Dr. Bob felt like they should stay in the Oxford Group, so many of them did. It was Clarence Snyder that accentuated the split in Akron. The 12 steps were not something that Bill set out to write. He set out to close the loopholes that these alcoholics were jumping through. We have 12 steps now, and if we had 182 steps, there would still be people that would jump through these various loopholes, because that is the nature of what we are until we surrender. We also I can break down for you, and I'll do it very quickly, the 12 steps into something, 4 categories. This isn't going to help you recover, but it's kind of neat information. Step 1 is admission. Step 1 is admission. Steps 2 through 7 is submission. Steps 8 and 9 are restitution. And steps 10 through 12 are reconstruction. I'll go over that one more time. Step 1 is admission. Steps 2 through 7 is submission. Steps 8 and 9 are restitution. And steps 10 through 12 are reconstruction. Amends is AA language. Oxford group language is restitution. The Oxford groupers did not talk about amends. They talked about restitution. It's the same thing. You don't have to ask me after the meeting, what's the difference between, it's the same, basically it's the same thing. They're just using a different word. So where you see restitution, you know that's from the Oxford group. Where you see amends, that's AA language. That's big book language, is amends. Same thing, to amend, to restitute, same exact thing. Admission, submission, restitution, and reconstruction. What is another source of steps 4 through 9? One of the people that had a lot of influence on Bill and Hank and Fitz, the guys in New York, Silas Bent, Jimmy Burwell. Well, Jimmy Burwell wasn't a very religious man, so he wasn't at the Oxford group very much. But one of the people that had a lot of influence on these guys was a guy who was the front man for the Oxford group in the United States, and his name was Reverend Sam Shoemaker. And Reverend Sam Shoemaker wrote a poem that I recommend. It's called I Stand by the Door. And if you want to read that poem, you can Google that when we're done. It's called I Stand by the Door by Sam Shoemaker. Common spelling, nothing to figure out. I Stand by the Door is one of the most moving poems I have ever read in my life. But that is not the emanation of our steps. The emanation point of steps 4 through 9 come from, or can come from, we're not exactly sure, can come from the 4 impediments to God that Sam Shoemaker wrote about in a book called Twice Born Ministers. Now, I'm not recommending the book. It's not conference approved. I'm just telling you where it comes from. And on page 92 of that book, Sam Shoemaker speaks of 4 impediments to God. What are impediments? An impediment is something that stops or slows progress. It stops or slows progress. A speed bump, a wall, these are impediments. The first impediment is a resentment that you will not let go of. That became step 4. The second impediment is a secret that you will not tell. Step 5. The third impediment is a harmful thrill that you will not stop. Lying, gossiping, stealing, cheating. That became steps 6 and 7. A restitution, remember that Sam was in the Oxford group. He does not use amends, he uses restitution. A restitution that you will not make. And that became steps 8 and 9. I'll go over that one more time because I know you're going to ask me if I don't. The first impediment, a resentment that you will not let go of. The second impediment is a secret you will not tell. The third impediment is a harmful thrill that you will not stop. And the fourth impediment is a restitution that you will not make. Very important. Let's go to page 60 and let's look at the paragraph on page 60. Many of us exclaimed. Page 60, many of us exclaimed, "What an order! I can't go through with it." What does Master Yoda teach us? Master Yoda teaches us there is no try, do, or do not. There's no such thing as can't. What did Gandhi say? Gandhi said there are two types of people in the world: those who believe they can, those who believe they can't. Both are correct. Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. What are the principles? The principles are the steps. This thing about the principle of the first step is hope, or the principle of the second step is faith. That's stuff that came out after Bill was dead. That's a product more of the 80s and the 90s. That came out way later. When Bill is talking about the principles of the program, he is talking about the steps. We are not saints. The point is we are willing to grow. Grow means it's a journey, not a destination, along spiritual lines. The principles, the steps we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. During the Q&A, I may call on Craig to give his take on this because it's fabulous. But for right now, Craig F. But for right now, this is very misquoted. This is probably the most misquoted line of the book. You'll get somebody and they'll call me up and they'll say, I'm eating Reese's peanut butter cups, or I'm eating Almond Joy bars, or I'm eating M&Ms with peanuts. And I'll say, blah, blah, blah. And they'll say, oh, progress, not perfection. This line is not a get out of jail card. This line is not a line that says, oh, it's okay, go to the bar, have some beer or wine. You don't have to drink whiskey or gin. You can drink beer and wine. That is not what it's saying. That's not what it's saying. That means that we claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection is you keep working as hard as you can to achieve your goal of recovery and to keep traveling that road of happy destiny. You keep going. You don't stop, and you don't use that as an excuse to eat M&Ms with peanuts. Why anybody would want to eat the other M&Ms, I don't know. Obviously, these are not Jewish people that buy the other M&Ms. I can't understand. Why would I spend the same money for M&Ms with peanuts or without peanuts why wouldn't I buy the ones with the peanuts? I still don't understand that. Never did, never will. Okay, fine. Our description of the alcoholic. What is the description of the alcoholic that he's talking about? The doctor's opinion? Bill's story? There is a solution, and more about alcoholism. What do these chapters describe about the alcoholic? We just talked about it, but we're going to talk about it again. The alcoholic is defined as someone who has an allergy of the body, which when that food or when that ingredient is inside of me, I cannot control the amount I eat, and a twist of the mind that makes it impossible to stay stopped. I have a body that will not tolerate sugar. I have a body that will not tolerate different ingredients, but I'll just stay with sugar for right now. My body, when sugar is inside my body, sets me up with a craving beyond any human control. And my mind won't leave it alone. My mind is insisting all the time that I go and eat sugar. that I go and eat fried food, that I go and eat crispy fried foods. My mind won't stop and my body won't tolerate it. So I'm caught in the middle. Our description of the alcoholic also describes to us in Bill's story and in More About Alcoholism, what we talked about before is that the disease is progressive. Bill's disease never stayed the same. It kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. My disease is the same. My disease keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse. It never stays the same and it never gets better. Our description of the alcoholic made the chapter to the agnostic. That's chapter 4. And what are the key points of chapter 4? That the main object of this book is to help me find a power greater than myself, which will solve my problem. And if it's the main object of the book, it better be the main object of my life. Because this idea that the main object of the book is to help me find a power greater than myself better be translated that this is the main object of my life. Now, I need abstinence to find that higher power. If I'm comatose on Chips Ahoy, not long ago, somebody came up to me at the convention in Newark and said, I'm working on my emotional sobriety. And this person is up a minimum of 75 pounds since last year. I wouldn't be in emotional sobriety. I'd be in a coma. You give me enough Oreo cookies, you could operate on me. I wouldn't feel a thing. They wouldn't need an anesthesiologist. Just bring in the cookies, bring in the cake. I'm high as a kite. You give me enough Oreo cookies, whatever you want, take it. My car, my house, whatever. I got Oreo cookies. I don't need a car and I don't need a house. Okay? So, and the other thing that we agnostics teaches us is, do I believe or am I willing to believe that there is a power greater than myself? I don't have to subscribe to your God. I don't have to subscribe to the God of any particular religion. I don't have to subscribe to a prayer life that works for you. I don't have to do the prayers you do. I can pray how I want, meditate how I want, and I am okay the way I am as long as I am seeking that higher power. And it is imperative for me to remember that, again, abstinence is a requirement. I am not going to find recovery if I'm not abstinent. If I'm still in the food, I am not going to recover. But abstinence alone is not a treatment for this disease. Abstinence does not treat this disease. Let's continue. Our personal adventures. Why are the personal adventures important? For identification. Why did they move Bill's story from the story section of the book into the front of the book? Very, very important that we remember that, because Tom Uzzell, who was brought in, Tom Uzzell was the editor of the book. He was brought in November of 1938, and Janet Blair did the grammar, and Tom Uzzell did the content. Tom Uzzell moved Bill's story to the front so it would give you a point of identification. Why do we have the stories in the back of the book? Is it to entertain you with little vignettes about this person or that person? Certainly not. The reason that we have the stories in the back of the book are for identification. So you can see how this one, The Man Who Mastered Fear, or Alcoholics Number 3, or Dr. Bob's Nightmare, or Dr. Addict Alcoholic, whatever it is, how did these people, how did they find God? Because we are going to ask you to find God. We are going to ask you to walk their path. Now, you're not going to identify with everything of every one of them, but you're going to identify, hopefully, if you are a compulsive overeater or an alcoholic, you're going to identify with enough of them so you can glean out how they came to find God. That's why we have those stories. It's not to entertain you. Where does that come from? It comes from The Varieties of Religious Experience by William James. And The Varieties of Religious Experience by William James is key to our program because this is why we have the personal stories. This is why we have the personal stories. Before and After made clear 3 pertinent ideas that we were alcoholic, allergy of the body, twist of the mind, and could not manage our own life. Do I see that I could not manage my own life? Yes. Do those bedevilments on page 52 in We Agnostics, do they seem to apply to me? Yes. Do I relate to Bill Wilson? Do I think like Bill thinks? Do I eat like Bill drinks? Yes. Yes. That probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism. I want to throw out some names. If you're too young and you do not know who these people are, I ask you to Google these people because I don't have the time to give you biographies on all of them. John Candy, Chris Farley, Fatty Arbuckle, Mama Cass Elliott, Karen Carpenter, Aretha Franklin, President Taft. What do these people have in common? These are people who were highly successful people. Aretha Franklin, Karen Carpenter, Mama Cass had voices like angels. This disease took them out. I don't think Mama Cass, I know Karen Carpenter didn't. They didn't see 40. At least Aretha Franklin got to live, longer. But she battled this her whole life. Battled her way up and down and up and down and up and down. I mean, every time you saw her, you never knew what you were going to get. And President Taft was so obese, he didn't fit in the White House bathtub. He had to have his bathtub brought out from Ohio so he could take a bath. John Candy was a funny, funny man. He died at about 400 pounds. Chris Farley, hysterical. This disease took him out so young, so talented. No human power could have relieved our alcoholism. The only solution is in God. And then we come to see that God could and would if he were sought. How do you seek God? By working the steps, by helping others. Dr. Bob wrote down on one of his prescription pads, he wrote, trust God, clean house, help others. How beautifully simple is that? How beautifully simple is that? Trust God. Clean house, step 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Help others, 10, 11, 12. How simple is it? How simple is it? So the situation is such that these ABCs must be absorbed. Now, before the book was printed, it said between C and being convinced, it said, if you have not been convinced of these things by now, either reread the book or simply throw it away. But they made him take that out of there. They forced some changes on him. The fellowship forced some changes on Bill Wilson. They also fought him on the 12 steps. Could you imagine what kind of controversy you'd have if at this meeting this morning we decided the 12 steps was not enough, we want 24? Could you imagine the controversy based on that? My God. Well, here was a 6-step program, and he made it into a 12-step program. He said he liked the number 12 once he counted them, because 12 is very important in the Bible. 12 tribes of Israel, 12 of this, 12. I think there was 12 apostles, although I'm a little chubby Jewish boy, but I think there's 12 apostles. 12 is a very important number in religion. So he liked that there was 12. And the fight was on. Thank God he won. He finally said to them, I'm not going to fight with you anymore. You guys want to finish the book? You finish the book. And he made a deal with them. It would stay at 12, and it would stay except for certain things, but he was going to finish the book. And he did. And thank God. I don't believe Bill Wilson wrote the book. I believe he wrote it down. I don't believe he wrote the book. I hope that today gave you the idea that the only thing you have to do in this program, the only thing you have to do is the next right thing. But the main object of this exercise, the main object of this book, is to help you find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem. These steps are very simple, and the truths are ancient truths. Bill Wilson said many times, we invented nothing. We didn't invent anything. We rely on ancient truths, ancient philosophies. These 12 steps, when reviewed by Buddhist priests and rabbis and priests, ministers, all pass muster. Imams, all pass muster. Father Edward Dowling, who was a tremendous influence on Bill, who was a Jesuit priest out of St. Louis, Missouri. He looked at these things and he said, these are like the teachings of Ignatius. These are fine. We approve of them. Fulton Ausler, all these various religious people. I forgot his name now. The one in New York. I can see him now, but he was the one that wrote The Power of Positive Thinking. He reviewed this and he said, this is fine. This is good. Norman Vincent Peale, that's who I'm thinking of. Every religious leader reviewed these steps, and they all said, we can agree with everything. Could you imagine writing something that is God-based, spiritually based, where all religions will agree that it's fine? You couldn't write your name today and have all the religions agree that that's your name. But yet he wrote these steps, I believe God did, and in the steps found relief for millions and millions of people, some dead, some unborn. 15 million years from now, they will use these steps to recover from any addiction you can imagine. It is known that the 20th century will be remembered in the millennia to follow for 3 things. Man's flight at Kitty Hawk in 1903, the Wright brothers, the computer/space flight computer age, and the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. This is what the 20th century will be known for. Okay, next week, we're going to start on being convinced. We were at step 3 on page 60. We're going to start there, page